recovering, I believe, from that. But we've been texting this morning, Jake seeing the game, but decided to go this one solo because honestly, I don't know if we really need both of us on this, unfortunately. It's a tough one to watch, a tough one to swallow because now essentially our playoff hopes are dead. We'll kind of touch on that and the aspects of the game, but this will be a pretty quick summary, in my opinion. We'll do a little goal vision and kind of show you the goals, the problems that we had with those goals. Obviously not able to finish all of our chances that we needed to. And kind of came to our demise there in a packed City Park, unfortunately. So I think the fans showed out. We did everything we were supposed to be doing. The guys in the field just didn't complete it for us. So let's get into it. I will say, as we talk about this first, quick fan shout out. Mark Ellis submitted our fan mail that we read in the last pod as well. So we appreciate that people are letting us know who is sending that to us and seeing all the people at the stands as well. I'm going to give a quick shout out as well to Kevin Kalish, head coach of SLU Soccer. Got to bump into him at the game and kind of catch up with him. And I think we'll definitely have him on the pod coming here soon. Obviously, SLU is off to a pretty good start so far this season and the number one recruiting class in the nation, and would like to see them go even further than what they have. So we'll be in touch with Kevin Kalish as well throughout the rest of the season. But before I get into the highlights of the lights, let's start off with our presenting sponsor, the Hoffman Brothers. The Hoffman Brothers starting 11. Obviously, we had Berkey in the back. Then we went back to Horn at left back with Hebert and Kessler. Not a surprise there. Nowinski again at right back. I'm very confused on what's going on with Tolin right now. I don't really understand. He was on the bench, so it's not like he's not dressing. And I'm very confused as to why we're not playing him. But we'll kind of touch on that maybe going forward in the last couple games. Then we have Leuven and Durkin in front. No surprise there either. And then Jake and I called it. We had Hartel, Toyhert, and Betcher underneath of a Klaus up top. I like that we were starting to find a way to integrate Klaus into this game and finding a different position for Betcher. However, now looking back on it, it seems like it was almost forced. Unfortunately, I think Klaus did well with where he was, but if you look at the way that we've been playing games and scoring goals, if it's not broke, don't fix it, in my opinion. I think we almost tried to shove Klaus back in to a system that had been humming for the past couple games after Leagues Cup, after we got our German reinforcements, and Betcher was absolutely killing it up top, and it just didn't produce last night. But it actually did produce immediately off at the bat of the game. So in the fourth minute, Nowinski with the long ball over the top, Betcher with a perfectly timed run. If anybody was watching on TV, the announcer was like, oh, he's got to be offsides. No, it was a perfectly timed run. Kind of causes a little bit of chaos between the Minnesota defenders, hits off one defender, off the other, and then in comes Toyhert with a one-time finish, calm, cool, collected into the corner. A dream start for us at City Park. The place was rocking. I was there right above the supporter sections, decided to go with different seats this game, and it just felt like this was right. This is our game. We're here. We're back at home. We're going to take care of these guys, and we're going to handle it, and we're going to keep moving and making this push in the playoffs. However, in the 24th minute, we had the Minnesota goal, and that's actually where I'm going to start sharing my screen for this real quick and talking about this. I think there's a couple different things that I'd like to mention in this on this goal because 100% could have been prevented. So first, right here, as you see on a still screen right now, Leuven essentially playing at left back. Don't know what Durkin's doing trying to call for the ball right here. Awful idea. Leuven, if you see this, just play the ball back to Kyle Hebert. Just swing the ball around. No need to be a hero. You watch this as we could play. He tries to play a long ball. As he's getting pressed, Durkin's now about to cry, thinking the ball's about to hit him. So I don't know why you're not playing it to Hebert. We get it deflected, and it sends in Minnesota. And as they're on the counterattack, we are lucky right here that he didn't just play this ball into right past Kyle Hebert, because I think that would have been an easy one-on-one for them, and we would have caused Roman to make a big save. However, the offensive player, Abose, is just kind of working his way up, rips a shot that if you're Roman Berkey from outside of the 18, what is that, probably 25 yards out, not very well hit, pretty clean, easy save for him. However, Roman does not do great with his parry, as you see this go, and he parries it out to the right, which I think is decent, but not great, as he still keeps it in play. And when you're parrying it out to the right, you at least need to send it back down towards the corner, not back up the field and in towards a dangerous area. And then they just do a little cleanup. Nothing Roman can do on that one. So in my opinion, I don't think it was awful defense by us. I think it was an awful turnover by Leuven right here. And then if you see the defender, I think Hebert's trying to stay with the runner. You can see Kessler pointing at him. Kessler takes ball. You don't need to step there. I think he does fine to try to contain him. Then obviously as he sees he's about to rip a shot, tries to step, doesn't get the block in. But unfortunately, I really do think that this one's on Leuven. This is one that you should have circulated the ball. There was no need to try to play hero ball from the left back position and play it over the top. And unfortunately, it comes back to bite us. And that's something that after, I think Rome 100% thinks that he could have had a better parry on that. I would also say that this is just preventable in general. Jake agreed with me on this one, on the fact that this is something that when you're a team, you're up 1-0, we got to play a little bit safer. Why don't we keep the ball, try to move around the back and swing it as opposed to playing a long ball from our midfielder at left back at that point. I will say also Rome does make up for it after that in the 28th minute with a massive one-handed diving save. And that's one that he probably could have collected almost, but then Hebert kicks it out to be safe and sends it out for a corner, but a great save by Roman there. Literally in the next minute as well, another highlight with Toyhert, sends it across. He's kind of working down the left-hand side, sends it across the probably 30 yards out or so into Klaus. And I love that Klaus does not just automatically try to take on the defender. He spins back out, settles it up, and then as Nerwinski is making an overlap, both defenders go with Nerwinski. Klaus then, in my opinion, one of these things that we'd always see, like, oh, Klaus always rips it when he gets it on his foot. However, I love to see his composure. Nerwinski does the overlap. Both defenders go with him. And Klaus is like, wow, now I'm wide open. He rips a shot just on the outside of the post. I actually appreciated to see that he's still ripping shots, but at least it was calm, cool, and collected and had some composure up there right around the top of the 18. Then I'm going to jump actually all the way up to the 43rd minute because I don't think there was a whole lot in the 30s or so. But Klaus and Toyhert do a little give and go. Klaus wins the ball on a high press, probably about 45, 50 yards out, gives it into Toyhert. Klaus continues to make his run in behind. Toyhert slips him in. Great ball. However, I don't know if Klaus just was off-footed or what was going on there, but he tries to essentially chip St. Clair, which makes no sense to me. I think you just need to tuck that away and put it away. Chips it right into his chest, and an easy save for him. I think that would have been a perfect way for us to end this half. Go up 2-1 at home, get in the locker room, have all the boys calm down. However, we're going to go into the locker room tied 1-1. Jake has notes here for what he thought in the first half. He said, good attacking fluidity, 3 or 4 solid chances came up, but just unable to find the back of the net. I think that's a perfect summary of that half. I thought that we did well from an offensive perspective. We had 1 lapse on defense. I think Rome had 1 lapse on the parry there. He had great saves. Otherwise, we were working the ball well. I was still feeling pretty good going into the half at 1-1. I think that we could have been up, obviously, with the chances that we had if we would have put them away. However, 1-1 at home, something we can fix in the second half. Jake also says defensively looking a little frail as they get in rather easily, but Roman was able to make up for his mistakes after the goal, and he was able to keep us in it. So overall, I would say a pretty average half. This is one of the one frustrating thing, though, is the fact that we were up 1-0 at home in the 4th minute. And that's something that you need to at least carry into halftime and then all the way through the rest of the game. So Hackworth did not really appreciate the first half. As you can see, the subs that came in, we had Jay Reed come in for Nowinski, for Horn, and then we had JGR for Kessler. And then so this is one that I kind of get where Hackworth is going with this in the sense that this is the game that's a must win. We are now replacing defensive guys with a little bit more offensive power. When you think about Jay Reed and JGR, these are guys that get forward more often than not for Kessler and Durkin there. So I do think that it was something that obviously Hack saw coming in as well. So I apologize when I said that it was for Horn. It was actually Jay Reed on for Kessler, which is taking out a center back and putting in a left back that gets up into the attack way more frequently than Horn would typically. And obviously Kessler's not getting very far up the field. And then Jacob Wood-Wright coming on for Durkin. I think that's a switch where somewhat similar mindsets, but I think JGR has a little bit more of attacking presence than Durkin there. So that's what Hack is trying to go for it. And I think that kind of gave a little bit of a rise to the guys in the locker room and say, we're not sitting back. This is a must win, and we're going to go for it here. So unfortunately, though, the first play of the second half, we immediately give up a chance, causing Rome to make a big save for us right when the half started. I don't understand when you're talking about this in the locker room with the guys, how this is not one where you got to come out firing, regardless, offensively and defensively. I don't think you need to be worried like, all right, we're adding in these attacking guys. It's not like we're up 3-0. You got to remember that one more goal for them, and we are down 2-1 at home in the second half in a must-win game. And I did not appreciate giving up that chance very early on because guess what? Then 7 minutes later, we give up the goal. So you look at the ball up top to Bubba, and he takes it to Horn and just torches him with speed. Horn tries to bring him down, but can't. Takes the end line, cuts it back to Jay Reed, or to where Jay Reed's offensive player, where he should have been marking, was not being found and not doing a great job by Jay. You can see Jay actually look over his shoulder, look for the offensive player, and look for him to try to find him, but he did not do very well. And I'll share my screen again real quick. So on this one, in my opinion, is all on Horn. As you see the ball coming down the sideline here, this is a frustrating one in the sense that when you're a defender, you see the ball coming down. I understand it skips. It gets past Hebert, who's way out of position here, all the way up here, and it gets in here. And if you're Horn, you're in a good position. You're fine here. The guy takes a touch towards the sideline. You're doing very well. Then, when he takes a long touch down the sideline, this is what's frustrating to me. I think he's still in a good spot. He's a little bit behind. Obviously, doesn't have as much wheels as the attacker. However, if you're going to go and make this slide, you have to win the ball or the man or both. You cannot just come up empty-handed, and that's what happens here with Horn. The biggest frustration for me on this one, everybody, is the fact that he slides trying to use his left foot to clear the ball as the defender is on his left. That's essentially trying to do, and think about how awkward that feels just as you're sitting at home, using your left foot to try to hook the ball out as opposed to just wrapping around with your right foot. I think if he slides with his right foot here, he wins the ball, man, or both. And then either way, take the yellow. You're not going to get a red card here from the ref if you take him out. And the frustrating thing for me is it's just how awkward this slide is. As you watch this, just misses it. Misses ball, man, everything. Now you're in the dust, and now we're sprinting. But look at this. Look at this still frame. I feel comfortable with Roman Berkey taking a one-on-one here. You got Leuven, who's tracking back. Hebert's got the offensive player here. And you got Jay Reed. Jay Reed's over here kind of chilling, feeling like he's fine. Look, you can see right there, he just made a quick look over his right shoulder. Where's the offensive player? I think that's great defense for him all the way up until this next point. You see him coming. You got to win this ball. You are the only one that is allowing a guy to be able to score here. Roman does great one-on-one. He's not getting scored on from that position. However, Jay Reed leaves his man open, and they called it known goal. It goes off top of the bar and in. Frustrating. You can see Jay was a little upset with himself there as well because obviously he did everything to put himself in the correct position, finding where the attacker was. However, just doesn't track him into the last minute. And unfortunately, that was our doom. That's what brings us down 2-1. You can go into it then, and then in the 62nd, kick us while we're down. Hebert again up for a corner kick aerial duel, and unfortunately he makes his body bigger. It gets called a handball on VAR. It gets reviewed, it was not called a handball. It goes to VAR. The ref comes back and says it was a handball. We'll talk into Mr. Gansner on this one. I think this is one that's upsetting as a City fan because it's one of those where he's trying to float backwards as he's jumping. You can't really just jump with your arms down at your side in that sense. However, he does make his body bigger. And then, unfortunately, it gets called for a handball, making his frame bigger, and then they put away the PK there. And so that's a frustrating one. At that point, now we're down 3-1 in the 62nd minute. It's like, okay, this is a must-win game. Are we really going to try to score 3 goals in the next 30 minutes? Very unlikely. However, Hack's doing what he can on the sideline. We immediately see a sub, Allman for Nerwinski in the 63rd minute. I don't think Nerwinski had a horrible game. I still don't really understand the whole totaling of it all, but I appreciate that Hack is still trying to do what he can from the sidelines, obviously not having a kid on and playing on the field, and taking out a right back and putting in Alm, who is an attacking presence that we would need if we're going to try to make a comeback here. And then literally 4 minutes later, we have a highlight from Klaus. Draws a foul just outside of the 18. I thought it was a PK. Obviously, it went to VAR. I know frustration comes from everybody when we're watching these things that would have been a perfect one for us to click back in this. We're only down 1 in the 67th minute if we put away a PK there. However, no PK was given after VAR, and it just ultimately, that's pretty much the last really highlight or low light that I had from this game because unfortunately, there was just not a whole lot after that. That was really exciting in my opinion, and maybe it was just me kind of turning it off. I was in the stands, but just kind of throwing my hands up like this is it. That's the season. However, there was still just not much that the guys could do. When you look at the stats of it, we had a 1.47 XG to their 2.46. I think 1.47 feels a little low for me with the amount of attacking prowess that we had, especially in the first half, creating these chances, causing St. Clair to make saves, but obviously just got outbeat there, got outbeat in total shots. They had 18 to our 15. They had 9 on target. Of those, we only had 8. We each had 3 big chances. We obviously missed 2 of them. They only missed 1 of theirs. And then accurate passes, that's what the stats get a little bit misleading when you look at this on the post game because we had 503 passes to their 351. Usually that is completely flip-flopped for this City team. However, when you're down 3-1, Minnesota is 100% okay with us taking the ball and passing it around. So looking at the stats of this, it's like, wow, how did we not win this game? No, that's all after the fact of when they already have taken the lead. And it's just not a game that I really appreciated. I do think that we've always had, since the German reinforcements have came that I mentioned earlier, I think that we've always had this attacking presence that's been impressive for these guys, and we've been able to put away goals. I think we had the chances in this game, we just didn't put them away. And now we're back to the old City of what we've had prior to Leagues Cup before the Germans came over, where we're creating chances but not finishing it. So I think that's a frustrating part for me when looking at the player ratings of this game and how I rate them. Unfortunately, even after giving 3 goals up, I would still give Rome a B+. I think he made saves that kept us in this game that didn't need to be, like, he had no right making some of these diving saves. And there were, on the goals themselves, nothing he could have done about. I mean, the parry, that's a bad one on him on the first goal. The second one, he was taking the defender 1v1. Jay Reed does not clean up for him, and then it's a PK. So for Rome, I'll still give him a B+. Looking at the back line, wasn't impressed with anybody. I don't think Kessler did anything impressive. Obviously, then coming out at halftime. Then you have Nerwinski, fine, had the assist or half assist, hockey assist, if you want to call it, with the ball over the top. And I don't think he did anything overly impressive. I think that the goal was on horn when it comes to the second goal for them. So overall, I'd give our back line probably a C+. There was nothing impressive that I saw out of any of those guys. Again, Leuven and Durkin, I have a low light for Leuven. I have no highlights. I don't even know if I saw Durkin in the game besides trying to call for that ball from Leuven there either. So I'd give those guys a C+ either. I would say on this sense of a game, this is a game where we need Leuven to step up and just didn't see it. I think I'm okay with him usually managing the games in this, and you don't need to have a lot of highlights and lowlights. But in a game that is a must-win and a possible season ender when it comes to the playoffs, we need him to step up, and I just didn't see it out of him there. Going into Hartel, Toyhert, and Betchert, unfortunately, kind of same thing with Hartel. I think he had a great couple games leading into this game. And he almost just was a shadow of himself in this one. I have no highlights or lowlights for him. I thought Betcher did well, at least on the holdup of that first goal, obviously, that we scored. I think he's always doing the work rate, having a workhorse mentality. And then obviously Toyhert with the finish. He had the slip in for Klaus. That should have been another goal. I thought Toyhert did well there. Klaus, going up to him real quick, fine. I would give him probably just a flat B. Obviously, coming in and getting a full 90 in this game, I would expect you to score when it comes to, of all the people that we're talking about for this, that we would expect and need to rely on. You're relying on your number one striker that has been historically, obviously has not been starting or playing in the past couple games, but Hackworth had the confidence to start you, play you full 90 in this game, and you're not getting a goal for us. You didn't overly create any additional chances. I don't remember him slotting anybody in. The only 2 things that I had was when he had that rip off the outside of the net, and then also the slip in for Toyhert where he didn't finish. So for Klaus, I would probably give him a B-. And I would say my heart and soul juice man of the match is Mr. Toyhert. I thought that he did well, not only scoring the 1 goal, that's an easy answer there, but actually on the ball and slipping guys in. We talked about the chances where he slotted across the Klaus for the shot. He slipped in Klaus. He scored the goal. This is a guy that, honestly, that I thought Hartel was extremely outplaying in the past couple weeks. However, I think that this is the game that Toyhert really showed up and showed what he could do for this team and being a facilitator up top, right underneath of the striker Klaus. And I think this was a great game for him. So my heart and soul juice player of the game goes to Mr. Toyhert. Go to souljuice.com. Use code BALLWATCHING for 20% off. And you can go to Schnucks, Deerberg's, Mobile on the Run, anywhere. We just connected with Luis this week. We have some big news coming out as of Jan 1, some other places, gas stations that will be opening and allowing Soul Juice in. So go get your Soul Juice today. And I'm going to take a sip since I am talking for 18 minutes straight. Every time. Just an absolute game saver. And the reason that I probably need a little bit of that was because I was at the pitch. Before and after the game, the place was absolutely rocking. The personnel there, everybody taking care of us, does an incredible job every time. That place gets shoulder to shoulder before the games, during the games, after the games. If you haven't been to the pitch, I don't know what you're doing. We put that in our story as well. The weather is perfect. Go there. Go to some Sunday football. Do some college football there as well. Saturday, Sundays, get to the pitch. And then I'm going to really just quickly touch on our Grahammers and predictions. Jake predicted a 3-1 dub. I predicted a 2-1 dub. Obviously, we are going to be with this team predicting that as much as we can throughout the season. None of that hit. Neither did our bets. I had City money line. Jake had second half being the high scoring half. Neither cashed for us, so we're back down. However, the one thing that I told Jake is like, hey, it's been a struggle of a season for City. Obviously, we're not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs right now, but somehow, even though we are still that low in the seeding, Jake and I are still remaining just slightly in the green for betting on this team in the entire season. So if you're not a sports bettor, fine. But this is one that's been a struggle of a season, and at least we're not losing money on it. So I appreciate that. And then quickly, I'm going to say, where do we go from here? I mean, we're just kind of twiddling our thumbs right now. I think obviously we have 5 games left. We currently have, I need to go to the standings. I think we have 29 points. This is one that's just out of our reach. And it's unfortunately it's saddening in the fact that I don't think that we really have a chance to make playoffs. So we currently have 28 points with 5 games left. If we won all 5 of our remaining games, which is obviously still a stretch, we would then have 15 additional points, which would get us 43 points. Last year, that would have got us into the wild card spot. So you're saying there's a chance, yes. However, I think with the way that things are falling out, and unfortunately losing specifically to Minnesota, who now has 39 points, that would mean that we need to have more points than Minnesota. They're going to get 4 points out of their last games that they have. So they've only played 28 games. So they still have 6 games left. They're going to get 4 points. So unfortunately, I think we're looking to need to have the tops that we can have is 43. I think we're going to probably be mathematically eliminated after next week or the week after. However, we'll kind of talk about that. And that's not something that, you know what? It doesn't mean that the rest of the season is a loss. In my opinion, this is a team that obviously has changed a ton after Leagues Cup, bring in the reinforcements, a ton of injuries. Guys are now coming back. This is the time period where this could be extremely important for this team when you think about it. When we're talking about what is Hackworth doing with this team, his job is going to be pretty much decided, I would say, in the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I do not think that he'll be our manager next year. However, this is the time period where Lutz and team can start experimenting with the guys on the field. I think we have a lot of newcomers. We have a lot of guys coming back from injury. Where do guys fit, and what is our best lineup going forward next season? Obviously, we're not going to be able to play with Ostrak or Celio this season. However, Alm's back, Klaus is back. I think this gives time for Nilsson to get healthy. No reason to just shove him back in because we're obviously not really competing in games that matter anymore. However, I do think that a lot of the different ways that we've shifted the front 4, when you think about it, when you're talking about who's going to play right side, if it's going to be Betcher, Thor, Indy, because I think right now you have Hartel who's locking in that left side, Toyhurt underneath, and then is it Klaus? Does Klaus go over to the side? Do we kind of switch formations? Do we go to a 4-4-2, or do we stay with our 4-2-3-1? And this is a situation where in these next couple of games, that's things that we need to figure out before next season. You don't want to be starting the season up next season where we're like, oh, let's try to figure out what we want to do in these first couple games. Let's use these next 5 games and really figure out what is best for this team and what is the best formation, who's the best players we're playing, the timing of subs, all of that. So this is an exciting time still for City. And I do think that these guys are still going to be making a run, trying to make a push. Like I said, some of these guys coming up on the end of their contract and or have been in and out of the starting lineup. This is a time period where guys are fighting for their job. They are fighting not only for their job of a starting 11, but are you going to make the bench? Are you going to be back down to City 2 if you're looking at Johnny Klein and things like that with some of these guys? Are you going to be possibly loaned out or transferred out after in the offseason? So this is an extremely important time for a lot of these guys, and this is something that I think the guys are going to take very seriously, and I still hope that the fans do as well. This is obviously a tough time, tough season after coming off the first in the West last season. Was really hoping that we'd make a push for the playoffs here. I still think there's a very, very small chance. I'd say less than 1%. But the season's not over. There's a lot of creativity that can happen in these next couple of weeks, and I hope the fans stick around for it. It's a beautiful time in St. Louis. The weather is incredible. Get to City Park, get to the pitch, watch these guys when they're on the road. When they're in town, get to the game. It's going to be a fun time, and I hope the fans are kind of sticking around for it as well. I appreciate everybody that has joined. This has been a quick episode. Not a whole lot to talk about, unfortunately. I'm not a big fan of just talking through a lot of lowlights in a loss, obviously, but this has been a fun one. I had a great time last night at City Park. Stay positive, City fans. I would say if you guys, anybody wants to DM us, we'll obviously have a little bit more free time coming up. We'll be going into into the previews and the recaps of games. However, happy to do some different segments, bring some fans on, ask some questions, do what everybody else would like. If you like some interviews, we're still working on hope for the holidays for this fall. We'll keep you guys posted on that in December as well. In upcoming time, still an exciting time for City fans, and I hope everybody stays tuned to us and to City. And let's go into this fall having a good time. Have a great Sunday. Thank you all for joining, and all for City.